begin this meeting by welcoming everyone to the Donny Park Timberline Fernwood Area Plan Committee meeting for March. Our goals today will be covered here in just a little bit, but we're going to start on the next slide here with a brief introduction to everyone that's here. Those of you that are joining us via Zoom for the first time, we ask that you keep your microphones muted until you're actually talking so that those of us that are listening can hear who's speaking instead of everything else. We'll go around and introduce each of the members of the committee and then give the rest of the folks that hear from the county an opportunity to introduce themselves. I'll start. My name is Rob Wilson. I live in the Timberline area. Along with Brian Bates, I co-chair the committee. And I'm going to call on the rest of the committee members the way I see them on my screen. So John, you're up next.
Okay, John Ruggles here, representing District 2 on the Planning and Zoning Commission. And I'm one of Rob's fairly close neighbors out here at the end of Timberline.
Thank you. Evelyn.
Hi, Evelyn Wani. I'm representing District 2, Timberline.
Thank you, Evelyn. Brian?
This is Brian Bates. I'm co-chair with Rob representing District 4, and it's been a pleasure to work with everybody on this committee.
Thank you. Monica?
Hi, I'm Monica. I'm a District 2 representative.
And you have the unique distinction of having drafted on the last plan also, yeah.
Of being old, yeah. And it was over 3 years last time, and I think we're about to reach that goal, aren't we?
That's not a goal.
We're not.
Melissa, oh my gosh, sorry.
Dave, you're up next.
Yes, Dave Browning. I live in, excuse me, Pioneer Valley, part of Donny Park, and moved here in about '06. And I've been involved in some community things, including this one, and some other commissions and things like that. But right now I'm starting to get out of those things. I'm getting old enough. So anyway, but I've enjoyed, we've enjoyed Flagstaff and this area and everything. So.
Thank you, Dave. Evelyn, you're next.
I already did it.
Yep, so the block shifted around on me here. Let's see, looks like Bernice might be next.
Hi there, I'm Bernice Carver. I'm in District 4 over by the Turkey Hills. I've lived in Donny Park about 45 years. I've been real active in the community. Wanted to be on this committee because I just want to try to keep the area rural. And I really appreciate everybody that is coming online that is from the public. We need to see more people. It's been really tough getting the word out and everything with the COVID for the last 2 years. And it's good to see people that are coming on here. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Sailor, you're up next.
Hi, my name is Sailor Cadill, and I am representing Supervisor Begay's district, and I'm proud to be here and serving on this committee, even though it has been a very long time.
Good quality time though, right? So yeah, Supervisor Vasquez, looks like you're up next there.
Hello, everyone. Good to see everyone. Thank you for being here, continuing this process. Slowly but surely, we're inching forward. It's always good conversation during all these meetings, and I'm glad all the public participation. I did want to put a plug in for redistricting. There will be a public forum on Saturday at 10 a.m. It is a Zoom meeting. I highly encourage everyone to participate. One of the big pieces that's come out with redistricting, if you have not been aware yet, is that none of the maps that provide the new districts will include Fernwood Timberline in District 2. Fernwood Timberline area will be moving to one of the other districts between either District 4 or District 5. So Saturday, and then 3 other times beyond that will be opportunity to provide your public comment to this process. So please get on there. We need to hear your voice. We need to hear what your preferences are for the maps. I really wish I could keep Fernwood Timberline in District 2. I was very disappointed when none of the maps provided me with that option. So I just want to advocate for those of you from Fernwood Timberline to please participate in this process so we can hear your voice. One thing to note, while these new district boundaries will go into effect for the election cycle starting in January 2023, the actual changes in the boundaries won't be official or won't happen until January of 2025. So whereas the election cycle will start in January of 2023, getting ready for the 2024 elections, the actual boundaries won't change until January of 2025. And so I think that's really important to note. This is pushed back more than usual, and it is because the delay in the census data, the delays that happened from the statewide independent redistricting commission, which pushed everything back. And so for that reason, instead of having these new boundaries already in effect now, they won't actually go into effect until January 2025. So regardless of which map is decided, I will continue to, or the supervisor from District 2 will continue to represent Fernwood Timberline until December 31st, 2024. So again, please participate in these public forums. We need to hear from you. We need to hear what your preferences are so that we can help make the decision that will ultimately maintain the new district boundaries for until the next census, which will be 2030, in which case redistricting will happen again. So again, thank you for all your time and your effort in this process of putting in for the Fernwood Timberline area plan. And I look forward to seeing it in completion soon. I see some hands up. So if you have questions for me, I'm all ears.
Okay, this is Bernice. Or Evelyn, do you want to go first?
Sure. At first you said it was going to be effective January 2025, and then you said 2024. So which is it?
So it's January 1st, 2025. The districts as they currently are will end December 31st, 2024. Then when January 1st, 2025 hits, the new boundary maps will be effective in terms of which maps are the district boundaries. The part that's confusing is that starting in January 2023, which begins the new election cycle that will complete in November of 2024, the maps that are being pushed for those for that election cycle will be for the new maps. So why that's confusing is if you currently live in Fernwood Timberline, you will be part of District 2 up until January 1st, 2025. However, during that election cycle, you will be voting for your new district boundary map. So that's why it's confusing. It confused me as well. I thought these maps that we were voting on would go into effect January 2023, but it's actually the maps that it's a 2-year overlap. So you will continue to be in your current district until the end of 2024, and the new maps will be adopted January 2025. However, during that election cycle, going into November 2024, people that are living, so you might live, for example, you might live in Fernwood Timberline, where right now you represent District 2, but in that election cycle, you would be voting for your representative in the new district map. And I know that's kind of it was confusing for me as well.
Supervisor Vasquez, I appreciate that input, but in the interest of keeping our meeting on track here,
sorry,
I think we appreciate that info, but I think we're going to cut off any additional questions on that particular topic, so we can stay focused on our task here.
Rob, can I just do a quickie? I just want the Zoom information, if you could put it in the chat.
It is on the county website. I'll see if I can download it and put it in the chat for you.
Thank you very much.
It's Saturday, 10 a.m. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thanks, Rob.
Hello.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Vasquez, and Supervisor Brigade, please.
Oh, Yes, just basically, Geronimo's covered everything. I just want to say hi and thank you for continuing with the area plan. And I really just want to make sure that, you know, the plans are successful and that, you know, you guys have spent a lot of time on there, and I just going to be in the meeting. So, but no worries about Timberline. I would really work with Geronimo on that. I'm willing to give that back to him.
All
okay,
right.
thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And I guess there's some new introductions from your office this afternoon, Supervisor Begay.
Hi, Rob. This is Cheryl, District Director for Supervisor Begay. We're happy to welcome Linda Curley. She's originally from Tonalea, and she's going to be our new community liaison. She's replacing Naomi Yazzie Sloan. So I'll have Linda Curley go ahead and introduce herself since she is in the meeting. And we're really excited and look forward to her participation and her huge help. So thank you. Go ahead, Linda.
Good evening, everyone. As Cheryl said, my name is Linda Curley. I am from Tonalea, Arizona. I am Navajo. So I'd like to introduce myself by telling you what my clans are. I am Whitecorn Zuni Edgewater, born for Near the Water people. Maternal grandparents are the Minigoats clan, and paternal is the Mexican people. I'm very excited to be added to the team. I'm grateful for the opportunity. I currently do hold a full-time job at the Tonalea Day School. I work there with students. I work with enrollment, attendance, and formerly was at Tuba City Regional as the executive assistant to the CEO and the board of directors. So I am excited to expand my horizons and learn more. Just very grateful to be here with you all. And if you hear other background of noise, that's my spouse. He serves as the board president for Tuba City Regional Healthcare Corporation, and we're both in a meeting right now. So you may hear some background noise from him. So he's in his corner and I'm in mine. So thank you very much for the opportunity. I look forward to learning a lot from all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Appreciate that and welcome. I think that's the key members of our committee and of the county that are here. Jessica, if you could, for attendance purposes, call off the rest of the people attending.
Yeah, I sure can. From the public, I've got Barbara Greenlees, Russell Weedman, Doug Meyer, Ken Lorton, I think Larry Allen, and Sheila Walsh.
Thank you very much. And I believe that covers welcomes, introductions, and as far as updates go, one update with respect to the comments that we're going to be discussing this evening. We're going to stay focused on the comments specifically collected prior to the cutoff for the open house. So we've received comments from a number of folks, Russell, I think, including you. After that cutoff, those comments are as important as any others. But in order to facilitate getting to our next open house on schedule, we're going to stay focused on just those comments that we received before the cutoff from the last open house and working today. So I think that's probably the only updates at this point that we have to do. Melissa, anything I'm missing?
Nope, I had no other updates either.
All right, let's get started. Yes, sir.
Rob, this is Brian. I just want to let the committee know that I am in agreement with Rob. We did talk about this. And so I believe that this is the best use of our time. Thank you.
And actually, Brian too has a comment that'll be deferred, but incorporated in those following comments. So, okay. Melissa, could we get started in the public safety section?
Yes, just wanted to remind everybody to please mute your phone. There's a new iPhone that's joined us. And if you're having internet issues, it's helpful to turn off your video. It will help maintain your connection.
And I'm sorry, first, did we want to approve minutes?
Nope.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yep. So we all received copies of the minutes from the previous 2 meetings, I believe, right?
Correct. From February 10th and February 24th.
And so from the committee, does anyone have any comments on the meeting minutes from the last 2 meetings? Hearing none, I'd like to take a quick, we'll do the votes using reactions. So a green check mark would indicate you're in agreement for approving the minutes as presented for the last 2 meetings. It looks like we have a majority, so that carries. Thank you very much for that. And Jessica, thank you for keeping us honest here. Now we're ready to get started.
Yeah, Rob, we need to do public comments as well.
Oh,
sorry.
I'm so anxious to get started. I can't help myself. All right, you're absolutely right. And those of you from the public that are joining us this evening, we thank you very much for your time. Your inputs are critically important to our success here. So at this point, we would like to open the floor to any members of the public who would like to share something with us before we get started. We would ask that you keep your comments within the 3 minutes time frame so that we're fair to everyone. Is there anyone from the public that would like to share a comment? Doug's got his hand up, so please, Doug, go right ahead.
Hi, this is Doug Meyer. I'm a longtime resident of Doney Park. I've got some words here written. I'm going to, because I got a lot to say, I'm going to do it real fast, so I'm going to read it. Hopefully I can get this really quick. And I just wanted to say a few words about the hypothetical situation where a landowner in the DPTF planning area might want to transfer lands outside of planning and zoning jurisdiction by taking that land into trust for an Indian reservation. I've heard things said to the effect that basically there's nothing we can do in that case, but there are things that can be done before that would be approved. In fact, there's a political process involved which requires the signatures of both the governor of Arizona and the US Secretary of the Interior. And so I'd like to suggest the following very short goal and very short policy to be included in the DPTF area plan. Goal, all tax parcels located within the DPTF planning area whose development is subject to approval by the Coconino County Planning and Zoning Commission remain within said jurisdiction. Policy, if necessary, the Coconino County Board of Supervisors should appeal to the Governor of Arizona and the US Secretary of the Interior in opposition to efforts to remove land from said jurisdiction. And I'll just finish by asking the committee if such an attempt to transfer land out of county planning jurisdiction does happen in the future, where else would a formal community-based political response come from, if not from the area plan that this committee is producing? I think everything else is just private efforts by groups and individuals. I believe our supervisors would appreciate having public guidance on this matter from the community documented in the area plan. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Doug, I would like to ask that you submit that in an email to Melissa so that that can be incorporated in our discussions of comments following this next open house, please.
Okay, I will do that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public would like to share anything this evening before we get started? All right. Seeing none and being as anxious as I am to get started, let's get started. This is the schedule that we have been following, showing what we've completed and what we have left to do. Tonight, we're going to get through public safety and hopefully the transportation and circulation sections, and then also review the vision statements that were provided out to the committee members. So we will get started in the public safety section here, please, Melissa.
I see John Ruggles has his hand up, and I'll stop sharing and get the comments open while you talk.
John, go ahead.
Are we going to deviate from past procedures? I'd like to ask if there is a portion of this that can be devoted to any committee comments, as we have done in the past. Or do you want to do that at the end of everything?
I need you to rephrase that question because I'm not sure I captured exactly what you're saying.
Okay, in the past, you have had public comment at the beginning and then committee comments. Are we going to deviate from that this time?
Nope. If there's any members of the committee that would like to share a comment before we get started, that's fine.
Okay, well, I happen to be one because the last meeting I promised to update people on a zone change request that came to community development.
John, is this update specifically relating to the area plan, or is this?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Otherwise, I would not comment on it if it was not pertinent to the area plan. So that being said, there's been a lot of comment about whether the area plan is actually something that is important to community development, Planning and Zoning Commission, and the Board of Supervisors. We had a request for a zone change on Daniel Way in Timberline. The intention was to rezone it to AR 2.5 in order to split the lot. The applicant requested a conference or speaking to me in person. I gave them a set of conditions that would have been made that conversation recorded in public record. I was very specific about the fact that it had to be open and transparent. With those conditions, one of those conditions was a request that community development review a similar case, almost identical to it, another one on Daniel Way from 2015. And that is because the area plan is extremely important in reaching the conclusion that the Planning and Zoning Commission forwarded to the Board of Supervisors, and that was a recommendation for denial, which the Board of Supervisors did. That being said, one of the important aspects of it was what was in the area plan, which is very specific, along with the results of the survey from 2001 and our current survey that said, no, people do not want to see that. There were a number of other factors which we don't need to go into here, but let me say again that it was very specific. The area plan was extremely important in reaching that decision. After reviewing the minutes of that planning and zoning hearing, the applicant decided to withdraw the application. I believe what I had was a very thinly disguised attempt to get a favorable response from myself on the Planning and Zoning Commission. I don't do business that way. Very simply put, I represent the district on this committee. I also represent what we have gotten from the survey, both surveys, and we went forward from that. I didn't agree with the assessment they made in the letter saying they were going forward and withdrawing the application because they referred to our zoning code as archaic. I disagree with that completely. That is not the case. But I want the committee and I want the public here to know just how effective the area plan can be in determining how to go forward with either a planning and zoning decision or a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors.
Okay, thank you very much, John. Appreciate that. Bernice, you've got your hand up. You're next.
Yes. Let me click myself. John, I really appreciate that information. I also appreciate Doug Meyer's information and what he has written up. And I was wondering if there's a way that we can apply that also to the city of Flagstaff, possibly annexing Donny Park, Timberline, Fernwood county property. If his statement that he wrote up could apply to more than just the federal government like that. That's just a thought. I also I've been reading the draft plan that we had. We don't have the updates that we've worked on. You can't. But I know in the industrial goal.
That's just a point. I'm sorry, baby. I meant to make dinner tonight.
Hey, John, you're not muted. Thank you.
Make dinner for me too. Let's see. In the industrial goal, we have industrial uses are restricted to existing
Bernice,
industrial zone areas.
Excuse me for a second, but if you
be real quick.
If you would like to discuss things that we've already discussed, we're going to have to ask you to hold those comments until we collect all the comments from the next open house.
Okay, we haven't discussed this. This was just something that I noticed, that we have a goal with no policy to back it up. That's all I wanted to say. There's no policy that, we forgot to put a policy in for that goal to just use in existing industrially zoned property.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any other members of the committee have anything they'd like to share before we get started? Hearing none. Melissa, for the third and final time, I will try to get started here. You could share our screen.
Okay, did that appear?
Yes, it did.
All right, great.
And we're going to start in the public safety section.
Right.
And
I will go ahead and let me make sure that is big enough.
Yeah, maybe one bigger wouldn't hurt.
Hang on a second. My screen is being strange. How does that look?
There you go. Oh, that's a little too big there. There you go. Perfect.
Okay, so the first comment, we had 4 comments on public safety, was on the goal, public safety goal number 2. And these are, we'll go back and forth. We're just taking them in order of the comment number. So public safety goal number 2, and I can flip over to that. Just hold on, let me move this down.
And Melissa, I think we're going to follow the same protocol we did at the last couple of meetings, where we're going to vote as a committee whether we need to further discuss the particular item or if it's just an informational kind of an item. Acknowledge and appreciate the input from the community and move on to the next comment. So.
Oh, okay, thank you for that point. So public safety goal number 2 reads, fire and emergency response is provided in an expedient and efficient manner. And the comment to that goal was, add something about encouraging residents to mark their addresses in a consistent, visible manner that can facilitate access by emergency service providers.
So those members of the committee that would like to discuss that a little further, if we can see a green hand, that would be great. There's someone on an iPhone that has a green check mark displayed right now. If you could clear that, it would make us easier for us to count things up here.
I'm seeing 5 check marks.
I am too. So let's go ahead and get started discussing that particular section.
Okay.
Bottom line is, do we need to add a policy that encourages clear marking of lots to facilitate emergency responses? And that sounds like a really good idea, and but it's an idea and not something that would really serve to inform either the Board of Supervisors or the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Rob, this is Brian. I support this because you hit it right on the nail. Getting emergency services to the right location is absolutely critical and could be a lifesaver.
Okay, Dave, you got a hand up there?
Yes. Mary and I have been doing walks, and I've been noticing the discrepancies in all of the way that the properties are identified, and so something like this would be really, really good.
Okay. Any other comments from committee members? Sounds like the majority of the people are in favor of this, and I think the policy statement could be almost as simple as what is written here. Something to the effect of, in order to facilitate expedited emergency response, all residents are encouraged to clearly mark their addresses at the street. Any objections to that basic phraseology? And since we're recording this, Bernice, go ahead.
Yes, in the past, the Donny Park Fire, I don't know if it was them or who it was that passed out all the universal signs that were all, you know, so the same color, same size font, so that it would, and they were reflective, so that the emergency services could look for that and identify it. Because some people, I mean, we've got a mishmash out here. We used to have all signs that were uniform, that were very easily visible, but a lot of them have deteriorated over time. And if somebody just puts up, you know, regular letters, it might be hard, especially at night, to see something that doesn't have some kind of a reflective something on it. So it would be, I think it would be helpful to
So if we
talk to emergency services. And yeah,
I sort of doubt that Summit Fire has budget right now for marking addresses, considering they're shutting down a fire station, but adding the word reflective into our policy statement would be a good idea.
I think it would be helpful to be uniform too, you know, that we're required to put, you know, a certain size font or whatever. Just
you want to start making our otherwise rural community more cookie cutter?
Well, I guess we did that when we passed out those other numbers, but they sure were helpful.
Yeah.
Well, Bernice, you have a good idea there, but I think that this is a personal responsibility of the landowner or the property resident.
Okay. You
And
know, I understand. We don't want to go into too much detail.
Right.
Okay.
All right. So quick vote by the committee members in favor of a new policy that encourages clear marking with reflective materials at the street on all addresses. So we have a clear majority there. Monica, Melissa, we'll leave it up to you to capture that out of the recorded video and move on to our next comment.
Okay, so the next comment was on goal number 1. Goal number 1 of public safety reads, neighborhoods are safe and crime-free. And the comment is, internet and even cell phone access is limited in portions of this planning area, perhaps at a goal of having the county partner with other entities to provide enhanced communication services. So I will note that the county is working to improve broadband internet. So that is underway. I am not sure what the other communication services would entail.
Okay, so quick vote from the committee members. Do we need to further discuss this recommendation? Green check marks would suggest yes. And there's a lot of people here today, so I'm not seeing all of the people at once. I have no committee members suggesting we need to discuss that. So great idea, but I think it's outside the scope of the community of this area plan to try to facilitate that type of activity.
And that iPhone is still showing a green check. So one of the only green check is from that iPhone.
Bernice had one as well.
Okay. Moving on to our next one, please, Melissa.
Okay, so the next comment is regarding public safety policy number 11. And that policy reads, it's under the goal of greater traffic safety is promoted. And the policy number 11 reads, the county sheriff's office should be encouraged to work with the Arizona Department of Public Safety, the Arizona Game and Fish Department, and the United States Forest Service to enforce speed limits and other traffic laws in the planning area, including off-highway vehicles on county roads and Forest Service areas. And the comment reads, not only should the speed limit on Highway 89 be reviewed and potentially reduced, but it will be helpful to have flashing lights and the speed limit reduced to 45-mile-per-hour signs on Highway 89. Drivers are not adequately prepared for speed limit change, and accidents at Silver Saddle and Highway 89 have recently been tragic. Drivers need to be alerted more effectively.
Okay, committee members, quick vote on further discussion on this suggestion. Need some committee votes here.
Rob, I think I'm just a little stuck just because like I totally hear this and it's not that I don't support it, but at the same time, like I'm stuck in my own opinion that the signage has zero to do with the fact that people don't slow down.
Right. So, and yeah. I agree with you that I would love to see people slow down more, but the area plan isn't directed to ADOT, who controls that, and therefore has little to no impact whatsoever. So I'm not sure we need to incorporate anything.
Yeah.
Rob, my comment is exactly that, is that it's not really within our purview. Yeah, I would love to see flashing lights and so forth to tell everybody to slow down, myself included. And well, you know, I keep up with the traffic.
Yeah. Well, and I can tell you that southbound there is one at Silver Saddle. And
that's what I was going to say. Is we have one.
Yeah, and
that's true.
It seems to have little to no effect because it doesn't matter whether you're northbound or southbound. Somebody's always passing you.
It recently got taken out, but they put it back up with a nice new one.
Yep. Okay, so I don't see a majority to further discuss that. Again, to the community members that made these comments, we very much appreciate it, but have to recognize the scope of what our document can control. So moving on to the next comment.
Okay, and the next comment is also related to that same policy. And the comment is, can a policy be added here or at TC4 that it be considered to drop the speed limit on 89 from 55 to 45 along this part of the corridor due to increased traffic and accidents?
And I think the response to this comment would probably be almost identical to what we just talked about, that we're outside the scope of what this plan has the jurisdiction over. So any members of we'll do a quick vote here. So green checks to continue conversation on that comment. Bernice, your green check has remained. I'm guessing it's still valid.
Yes, it is. I really appreciate those comments. And since there's more than one, I think it's important. And there's so many animals crossing that road also. I think it could protect health and safety of not only the drivers, but the elk and the deer that are crossing that road that unfortunately get in the way of the drivers. And just having it 45 like it is in town, I don't see why we couldn't do that. And we could make a
but this plan has no jurisdiction. Like that's basically what we're talking about. It's like we all care about it, but this plan has no jurisdiction over things like that. So we can't actually.
Yes, and they if they do their job correctly, they will be analyzing whether they should drop the speed limit or not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's incumbent upon ADOT when accident rates change to take corrective actions. So they do analysis on traffic patterns and speeds and those kinds of things to determine what would or would not work. And that's incumbent on them already.
We couldn't encourage the county to encourage ADOT to lower the speed limit.
I think a double disconnected encourage has probably got very little value.
Okay.
True.
Okay, I think that is the only 4 comments on public safety. Is that correct, Melissa?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, so let's move on to transportation. And was Liz planning on being here this evening? Does anyone know?
I have had some communication with Liz, and as far as I know, she was planning on joining. I think she may have been thinking she was going to be late. I just tried to get in touch with her. So
she's probably stuck in the snow on her bike somewhere.
That's what she gets for not having chains on her bike.
They do make studded snow tires for bicycles. So, well, it would be great if she was here, but we can't hold up progress for one individual. So we are going to get started with the transportation and circulation section of our area plan and the comments we received on that. Melissa, if we want to start with the first one there.
Right, and just to mention too, there are also related comments on the multimodal transit and trails map. So we'll be looking at both of those. But the first comment was a general comment. It seems to me that this entire section lacks much acknowledgement that the planning area is adjacent to and very intertwined with Flagstaff. People commute for jobs and education. People rely on health services and commerce in Flagstaff. Seems as if there should be some goals that explicitly address such things as convenient, affordable transit and the desirability of reducing congestion at certain times and places.
This is, go ahead.
Brian, go ahead.
This really takes us back to the, what do I want to say? The goals. Is that a place that we should start? Did we go back and look at the goal for the vision statement rather, for transportation and circulation?
Well, I was going to mention that there are goals that address this. Let me just go down to it right now. There's a section on specifically that address public transportation, transit, and trails planning. And the first goal, convenient and accessible public transportation and transit options are available throughout the Donny Park Timberline Fernwood planning area. And then there are policies under that. So, and if you recall, we had a presentation by Mountain Line that talked about transportation and transit options. And, you know, as we know, there's currently no bus service out to Donny Park Timberline Fernwood. There is paratransit options, there are taxi options, there is, you know, potential for micro transit, but there's no plan to bring a fixed bus route out there.
Okay, so we understand, I think, the comment, and I'd like to take a quick vote amongst the committee members whether this warrants further discussion. So a green check would indicate yes. And let's see, Monica. So we've got 4 saying no, so it's going to be difficult to get a majority. While I think all of us probably agree completely with this comment. Go ahead, Sailor.
I just put my check as no as well, so we got 5 now.
Okay. That we all agree with this, the philosophy expressed here, and we do sort of address that already. I think we can say that we appreciate the comment and have incorporated that. So moving on to the next comment there, please, Melissa.
I see it. Bernice has her hand up. Ron.
Melissa, would it be possible to make those, make that bigger? It's hard to read.
How's that?
That's good. Thank you.
Well, now we can't read, we can't see all of it. Yeah. That's as big as you can.
Okay, well, that's a little bigger, isn't it? Or is it?
No.
No,
it's a space. If you can go to a screen that just displays the screen share and doesn't display.
Oh, okay.
Or drag that bar next to it over and it will continue to get larger and larger.
Oh.
On the right-hand side of the document, there's a bar that you can select right in the middle of it. And you can move that.
Oh, I see. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Everybody can do that.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
And I just had a message that Liz should be joining us around 6:15. So we'll see.
All right.
Okay. And then the next comment was in relation to policy TC1.
And I think in this case, we don't even have to cover it because it's a should shall, which we've already addressed.
Right. Okay.
So.
All right. And then the next comment then Comment 108 is regarding Transportation Circulation Policy 11. And the policy reads, active transportation systems and multimodal improvements should be prioritized for access to activity centers and to connect to other transportation systems. And the comment reads, what about residents who are unable to drive, have difficulty walking, and who may not live close to a rural activity center? Would it not be possible to create public transit pickup and drop-off points at designated places in other parts of the residential areas? We basically don't have much of anything in the way of public transit in this part of the county anyway, but we're all aging fast. And just to kind of put some perspective on that, there are other policies that do speak to utilizing those other mountain lift services and getting information out to the community about what those are. So here's back to the policy.
Right, and Mountain Lift is the service provided by Mountain Lion for folks that have mobility issues and is available to people in the Donny Park, Timberline, Fernwood planning area. So I believe this is already addressed, and that perhaps Mountain Lion could do a little bit better job getting information out to folks, but incorporating more information in the area plan may not be warranted. We'll do a quick vote amongst the committee members whether we need to discuss this further. Look, all you great voters now. You guys have gotten this mastered. Love it. Okay, great comment. And we believe we've already got that addressed with Mountain Lion's services. So we can move on to our next comment.
And just to point out, number 14, policy 14 does talk about coordinating education efforts on that. Right. So the next comment is on comment number 110. It's a formatting question. Should this be reference be to NE20? So
for TC10?
Well, I'm sorry, it's comment number 110.
Yeah, TC19.
TC19. And so there is a reference there that needs to be updated right here. So yes, we will update all those references to make sure they're correct.
So whoever made that comment, thank you very much. Good catch. And we're going to incorporate it and move on to our next comment.
So the next comment is comment number 111, and it is in relation to policy TC 28. And policy 28 is under safety and aesthetics goal. The circulation system in the area plan is safe for all modes of travel. The policy reads, cooperation should be promoted between ADOT, other agencies, and the community to seek opportunities for safe crossings, scenic buffers, transit and school bus turnouts, recreation parking, staging, and trail access along arterial and collector roadways. And then the comment reads, I recall from prior years seeing data suggesting that Townsend-Winona Road has the highest rate of accidents of any county road. Not sure that is accurate. At any rate, it is heavily traveled, is a key corridor, and it does have some dangerous stretches. Consideration of safe bicycling options, a separated path, ? Along this road specifically might be called out here. And just to remind everybody, Townsend-Winona was recently, there was a repavement project where they did shoulder widening and striping along the sides for bicycle lanes.
Okay, so we're going to do a quick committee vote here. Does this comment require additional conversation? And let's see. We've got votes coming and going all over the place here. Let me look here. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 no votes. And that looks like it. So while good thoughts to share, I don't know that there's anything we can do specifically in the plan that's going to address these. We appreciate the comment, but are going to move on to the next one.
Okay, the next one is a general comment. As far as traffic lights are concerned, Campbell has much more traffic than Copeland or Burris Lane. Just look at the number of cars waiting to enter US 89. The light at Silver Saddle is good. Any others will slow traffic and cause more problems than they solve. And I think this is in relation, there is a policy that speaks to promoting a traffic light at Copeland.
Can we, where is that? Because.
Yeah, let me get to it.
Yep.
Hold on a second.
TC 32, I think.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Right there.
Just hidden away. At Burris, Campbell, and or Copeland. Okay, so it was all of them. That's right. And so this comment is suggesting that our existing TC 32 perhaps should not be incorporated, because it sounds as if the commenter does not believe those traffic lights would be beneficial.
TC 32 also refers to just safe crossings. It doesn't specifically speak to a light.
Well, I'm not sure what beyond a light you could do at any of those intersections. Speed reductions, I guess, but okay, so we'll take a quick committee vote here. Do we want to further discuss the comment, this comment we just received here?
I'm sorry, and Rob, there is TC number 4 is more specific to this issue. I'll just show that right now. And it did specifically talk about lights on Burris and Copeland.
Okay. So let's see, the vote amongst the committee right now is 4 against 1 for. So we are going to move on to our next comment.
Rob, can I take a pause here? Liz is needing me to send her the call-in number. So if I could just pause for a second?
Sure.
Yes.
How about, since we're going to all need a break at some point, why don't we take a break until 6 o'clock so Liz can get in, you can get her in there. We can all get a glass of water or whatever. And we'll start right back up again at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
That sounds good. Rob, can I just ask you a question real quick? It's Monica.
Sure.
I was trying to make sure that I comprehended that comment. Was the person basically saying that they don't want to have any of these other lights in there?
That's the way I understood it, yes. That they didn't feel they would be beneficial.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
All right. See everybody in just a minute.
I'm gonna have to leave, so I'll see you guys continue. Great work. I'll see you guys next time around. I have another meeting at 6 o'clock. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank you, Supervisor Vasquez.
Hi, Geronimo.
All righty. Just to make sure everyone is here from the committee, that we have a quorum again, if you could give me a green check, please, if you're a committee member. Dave. Monica, are you back yet?
Haven't left.
Oh, okay. Good to go then. Thank you very much. Melissa, we can go ahead and get started with the next comment then, please.
Okay, so we're on another general comment. From an email. And it's pushing electric cars is a mistake. There's not an electric car made that will haul my small fishing boat to Big Lake at 9,000 plus feet and still have enough power to get me back somewhere to recharge. They have a place, but not in Flagstaff.
Okay, I'm not aware of any section that specifically pushes electric cars.
I think so. The sustainability section does talk about potentially charging stations. And okay. 9D, TC 9D talks about evaluating the impact of evolving electric mobility technology.
To existing unplanned changes. Well, evaluating the impact is certainly something we have to do regardless of its current capacity. And I can tell you that the charging stations at my facility have seen a lot more use lately. So I guess not everyone needs to haul a boat to 9,000 feet. We'll do a quick vote here on whether we need to further discuss this comment. Whoops, and I voted incorrectly. There we go. And it looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 no's, so we can move on to the next comment.
Okay. Making a note here. Rob, just to clear, there's Liz. If you want to give a second. Rob, just to clarify then on the previous comment regarding the traffic lights, there was no change to that. Is that correct?
That's correct. Okay. And we'll take a quick pause here to introduce our other committee or just joining committee member, Liz Baldwin, who we intentionally delayed a little bit here for because she was the committee member in charge of this particular section. Liz, do you want to do a quick intro?
Sure. Liz Baldwin, District 4, been in this wonderful committee since inception. Excited that I finally got here. I had a doctor's appointment that went a little too far long, but now I'm here, and so I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and dig in. And now you're taking a break.
No, we took a break beforehand. You don't get any breaks, Liz.
Oh, good. Okay, good. Oh, I thought you said, oh, good. Okay, I'm on it. I'm here. I've got my paper.
So we're on the best way there, Melissa.
Right. So this is another general comment that came in through email. The best way to get from Fernwood to Cromer School and the rest of Donny Park is to use US 89 to Silver Saddle Road, not build another road out the back of Fernwood through the forest, across the landfill road, through more forest, into Sunset Crater Estates or Pioneer Valley. There used to be a dirt road that did that, but was closed by the Forest Service because of all the drainage caused by off-road vehicles and other traffic.
Okay, and I believe we did have somewhere in here that we suggested alternative routes to community activity centers, or the community activity center would be encouraged. Is that correct?
So there's a policy number 22, TC 22. That talks about where easements or required permits can be obtained. The county should work with partner agencies to implement and establish trails identified in, but not limited to, and then we list all these different trail initiatives, the Mount Eldon Dry Lakes Recreation Planning Project, the Flagstaff Open Spaces and Greenways Plan, the Flagstaff Urban Trail System, and the Flagstaff Trails Initiative.
Okay.
Where are we again, you guys? I have multimodal, and I'm so sorry. I just got here, which I so apologize. I wanted to be here. Transportation and circulation. Where are we? We're general statements of on the bulletin board. Which
we're in the we're, if you have your table of comments, it's on page 9. And we're on the 3rd from the top in terms of the general comment email.
Okay.
Where
I don't have, I didn't have, okay.
The best way to
get. Then let me go upstairs. Okay, sorry. And which one are we on now?
It starts out the best way to get from Fernwood to.
Okay, I see. School. Okay. I need to run upstairs, so I'm going to listen, but I've got to get that other paper. Okay. So
Okay.
go, I'll just sit. Oh.
So committee members, we're going to take a vote now on whether we need to further discuss this comment. Green check mark indicates yes, we do. Red X suggests that we're satisfied that we've addressed this already in our plan. Seeing 5 red check marks, 6, we can move on to our next comment while thanking our citizens for their inputs.
And the next comment again was a general comment by email. We have reviewed the plan and wonder what commercial businesses are planning to build around Copeland and Highway 89. Why is there talk about a traffic light at Highway 89 so the folks on the east side of 89 can walk across the street? If there's a traffic light, we do not want it at Copeland. Put it at Campbell where there is a gas station and parcel for sale.
All right, and this is a comment very similar to the previous one regarding traffic light locations, which we chose not to address. We'd like to take a quick vote on this one, whether we need to further address this comment. And seeing 5 no's, 6 no's, 7 no's, we can move on to our next comment, thanking the Andersons for their thoughts.
Okay, and the last comment on transportation and circulation, the policies, is another general comment received by email. There is no stoplight on our cross street, Burris, and the main highway. Crossing the highway, which has become more like a freeway now, that this town has increased so hugely in size, is becoming more and more dangerous.
And I think this falls into the category of traffic lights we've already discussed. So Burris is one of the locations that we did address in this previous policy statement as a potential traffic light location. So we'll take a quick, Bernice, do you have a thought?
I just wanted to make sure Burris was included in that. And what you're saying it is.
All right, so those that would like to further discuss this one, please use a red or a green check mark. Satisfied this, we can go on. Someone with the last, or the phone number with the last four of 7370, if you could mute, that would be helpful for us. Thank you. All right, I see, let's see, 4 no votes. I might have missed a couple. There, okay, there we go.
I see.
All right. So we are going to say we have adequately addressed that comment in our area plan as it exists. Thank you all for voting on that. Melissa, we can move on here.
Yes. And then the next, so that was the end.
I'm sorry, this is Liz again. What have you gone over? Because I'm trying to get my notes straight. I'm just, like I said, I didn't mean to stay at the doctor's office, but I need surgery. So I'm just kind of jostled here. So,
sure. Melissa,
just
could you go back to the beginning of this section?
Yeah. So we're through now with the transportation and circulation comments. And now we need to go to the multimodal trails and transit map comments.
Does that
okay, because the ones, yeah, that helps you, but the one, let me just ask you this one, general comments. Did you go over all the backups that we wrote down together? Because I came in at the end and people didn't want to discuss it. So you didn't discuss why we didn't want, all our backups that we had, like TC7 addresses this, TC, because no one wanted to discuss it. They were fine with it. Is that why?
Right.
Okay, good. Because we took so much time doing this, Melissa. No one's arguing. So I guess we have a good plan. Oh, my lands. Okay, so now we're going to multimodal. Okay, that's going to be, okay.
And let me get up to that. And Liz, just to bring you back up to speed. So we did finish the public safety, the 4 comments in public safety.
Okay. I just so wanted to be here for transportation. Wouldn't it be the one meeting I'm late? We got to transportation. I thought for sure we wouldn't get to transportation, but there you go. That's life for you. Sorry, guys. I just had to vent a little bit.
All right. So our first comment then in the multimodal trails and transit section.
And this is on the map. So again, we had the map on the display boards, and all of these were posted on the map itself, just to put context to it.
All right.
And the first question, and I would like to mention, we do have Julie Lead with us. She's representing Public Works. So may be able to help answer some questions. And the first question was in regard to why isn't Neptune Drive paved from Skeet to Stardust? And I could just say my understanding is that is a project that will be begun next year, if I'm correct. Is that right, Julie?
I believe that is one of the projects in the works.
Okay, but this one we decided that maybe it wouldn't be best as why isn't it? And we were deciding that TC 29, TC 27, and also because there's no traffic calming on that road. If you go by it, it's just a long stretch, and there have been 2 accidents there, including hitting a horse rail with horses in it because it's just, there's no stop. And in calming things, you either have roundabouts or stop signs, and they're with streets coming out from the main street or something slowing the calming process. And this one I thought would be addressed because I don't think it should be paved because it's just a hazard. And that's why they have barricades up there saying don't go by here, because people just roar down that section because there are no calming mechanisms for traffic there. And I believe TC 29 was talking about calming mechanisms, and I'm trying to look up what 29, 27.
Number 27 and 29, but that's a project that sounds like it's already programmed.
Oh, so they're going to assess it and see how unsafe it is before they make a road?
Julie, could you fill us in on that process, please?
Yes, so as part of the capital programming and the concept design development, there is a process that includes evaluation of traffic volumes and safety considerations. And my understanding is that projects that are planned for the Donny Park area, there will be a public involvement component to them when the time comes.
Okay. Because that's also a street that ends up right with mailboxes. And so that's another danger. Someone's speeding down there. There's a lot of people congregated at the end of that Neptune where the mailboxes are, that if someone they just knock into them. I mean, the other day someone was roaring down there with a horse and actually jumped over a car. Yeah. Right there at the mailboxes. So, okay.
So the comment then, why isn't Neptune Drive paved from Skeet to Stardust? We need to take a vote on whether we need to discuss that comment any further.
I don't think we need to because it's already been answered. It's to be considered next year.
Correct.
So a red X would be we've got 5 of those now. So there's 6, 7. Okay. We can move on to our next comment then, please. This is my favorite comment of all.
Okay, the next comment is, I'm happy with the addition of new multi-use trails.
They're happy. Yay. I don't think we even need to take a vote on this. I think we can say thank you that they're happy.
Okay, and then the next comment is rather generic. It says ATV access. And there are policies number TC 19 and TC 22 that both speak to access points, and we can just pull those up. Yep. So there's 19 to maintain access to public lands and open spaces, community residents, the county, state, and federal agencies should work together to designate and maintain access points. Strategies include, but are not limited to, access points for trails should be constructed and signed to current best practice standards. And then in existing situations for lot splits where access points are desired, encourage developers or property owners to provide easements. And then under 22, gets more specific about where easements or required permits can be obtained.
And also, isn't it that on our multimodal map, it does show, or it's going to show, because they still have to update it, like I was talking to you this morning, Melissa, there is an OTV site out near Girl Scout Ranch and out near farther north that actually is the Cinder Hills that is all ATV access. And we don't really have any jurisdictions of that under my, that I understand, because it's Forest Service. They can use their ATVs on paved streets and in neighborhoods, and they can go on highways if they have a permit, but the Forest Service really determines when their access is and what paths they can use in the forest. We really don't have any control of that, correct?
That's right. That's our understanding of it.
Okay. So I say we don't have any discussion on it because we don't have any control over it.
And Dave, you've got a comment?
Or even if we did have control over it, I think we've got a lot of good recommendations already included.
Okay. Could we go back to the comment then, please, Melissa? It was just ATV access.
Yes.
We'd be guessing if we discuss this any further. Any discussion? Anyone desire to discuss this any further? We appreciate people's comments, but they have to have enough meat on them for us to work with. So thank you for that. We will pass on this comment and move on to the next.
The next comment states safety of Baptist Church increasing 150 students equals all with a question mark, access Burris.
And that's TC4. So
this particular comment must be relating to the church across the street, basically from Burris Lane. And it's my understanding there is some plans there to increase the use of that space. They're talking about expanding the school there.
Mm-hmm.
So there would be an increase in traffic.
Rob, if I could
Sure.
add a little bit to that. Everything that has been brought up for this comment has been addressed in the request that the Northland Baptist Church made for a CUP to expand their classroom size. I would like to say it is not for accommodating 150 new students. However, it is a significant number. And one of the things that they have been required to do to address what's in this comment is to do a traffic study to assess the necessity for a turnout lane for them, which they would have to pay for if the study says they've got to do it in order to meet the conditions of a CUP. This is normally something that is addressed by the Planning and Zoning Commission as a part of a hearing for a CUP. Okay. And by the way, the area plan is quite important in evaluating this sort of thing too.
All right. Melissa, if we could go back to the actual comment, please. And then Liz, you had a comment?
No, John just stated it. I just want to make sure all the facts were known because we did some research on this too. So I'm taking my hand down.
So we will take a quick vote here on whether we need to further discuss that.
Shoot, no.
And it looks like we have a majority saying no. So we can move on to our next comment, please, Melissa.
Okay, and the next comment states shoulder on silver saddle.
You know, I'd so like to be able to further discuss these comments, but with that little information in a comment, I'm not sure there's any merit in investing our time guessing what that might mean.
Well,
there is a policy.
Want more, they could want
there are
less.
two policies. Yeah, there are two policies that address this.
27 and 18.
Mm-hmm. 18C.
I don't know that there's enough in that comment that we could have a discussion about it.
Well,
We don't
Well,
know.
you know, Rob,
or against.
Well, the thing is, this is Liz. She doesn't say what part of the shoulder, because there is a shoulder in Silver Saddle going between Coach Field and Stardust, and it's like a gravel multi-use trail. But maybe what she meant was the shoulder between Coach Field and Highway 89, and it is a long run, and there's a lot of people on bicycles, and there's a lot of people that are walk that, go to the store, or they just walk that a lot. And so maybe that's what she was insinuating, but you're saying there's not enough to even address it.
Yeah, because we don't know what she or he or they are saying. We can't really have a discussion. So
okay, but we're prepared if there was. We had to.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Quick
vote. There are turnouts there at Silver Saddle and Highway 89. So that's what I was interpreting it to mean, but they're already there.
Okay. Any committee members think this warrants further discussion? Got 4 no's right now. There's 4, 5. All right. We can move on to our next comment.
Okay, and the next one reads, on Highway 89, bus service to Brandis Senior Center in the neighborhood, in all grocery stores, shop in neighborhood on 89. Sounds like it's in relation to bus service.
Well, this
and
is
12 and 13 address
transit. Right.
And we've already talked about that.
Correct.
We don't need to go back to it.
Right. It's all activity centers, so that's covered.
So can we go back to the comment there, please, Melissa? All right. So the bus service part we have talked about. A senior center in the neighborhood is not something. Grocery stores, shops in the neighborhood are not something we've talked about. So these are all things that would have to be in rural activity centers and that are already addressed in our land use section on what should or should not be there and how it should exist. Let's take a quick vote on whether any of the comments incorporated in, this is about 3 or 4 different comments, but a vote on whether we need to discuss any of them. All right. It appears the committee is satisfied with our plan as it is with respect to that particular comment. We can move to the next one, please, Melissa.
Okay, the next one is solve problem of all the cars lining up on Silver Saddle to drop their kids off and pick them up at Cromer School. Put a park and ride directly on the east side of Cromer School soccer field. Could also be used for dropping off and picking up school kids. And again, their policies number 12 and 13.
And also 31, because 31, I added that this morning, Melissa. Update to the 1999 Cromer School Elementary Traffic Study to be improve the access safety. So we have that covered a third way, saying we know that's a problem, and we put that in there to make sure they update it, because all the projects they said that make sure Cromer's safe, they need an update because it's grown and because more traffic's going there. So we did address that there. On 31, TC 31.
All right, so we'll take a quick vote then amongst the committee members here. Do we need further discussion on Cromer School traffic safety? And we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 no's. So we can move on to our next comment.
Okay, the next comment, Old Caves Crater Trailhead needs to be enlarged.
All right.
And there were
Old Caves Crater Trailhead is controlled by the National Forest Service.
Correct. But we did, let's see.
There were policy 17, 19, 16,
yeah.
17, and 19, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, but what does enlarged even mean? I'm not certain I understand. Does it need to be lengthened? Does it need to be widened? I mean, what is enlarged?
When you first, yeah, that's true. I don't know. I'm interpreting it that it's not the parking lot. It's actually the trailhead, because it's a narrow trailhead when you walk in there, and they just want it to be widened. And I don't know really why, because you just keep on going and then it does widen. So
yeah, I mean, when I ride through it on my bike, I get a little nervous, but walking through it, I don't know. Maybe it's so it's accessible. Is it I mean, maybe, I don't know. I figure if they meant it was an accessibility issue, they would have brought that up.
I would suggest that this could, and unfortunately we're guessing here, but it could mean the parking area, because it only takes about 2 horse trailers to pretty much fill that place up. And
That's true.
That occurs fairly frequently. So,
see, I thought the parking lot was big enough, but wow, because it's so wide.
Parking.
So,
Yeah, they need more parking in there. People
Okay.
have been parking on Oakfield Road at the arena to ride over on old Crater Capes. And plus it needs to be maintained a little better, because for a regular car to drive over there, there's some really bad dips that could take out your muffler. So I think I might call the Forest Service tomorrow.
I think that's a great idea, Bernice, because it is a Forest Service issue.
And also now we can tell whoever made the comment that Bernice took care of it.
There you go.
Well, no, that our committee, is trying to help rectify the problem.
Well, thank you for letting us take credit for your work, though. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Bernice. She's so humble.
As chair of the committee, I'm hereby assigning Bernice responsibility for enlarging the Old Caves Crater Trail.
If I show up in 2 weeks and it's bigger, I'm gonna be like, Bernice, wow.
Okay. Let's vote on whether we need further discussion on this one.
I would like to mention something.
Please.
If maybe we could put on TC17 that something about whoever is responsible for those trails should be advised about, I don't know. I mean, it's more like the public should advise, say, the Forest Service or the county or something, if they feel that there's an issue with a trail, because I don't see how we can really do it. So well, the public needs to.
Evelyn, when you say we, are you meaning the zoning, our planning area, or are you talking about the county itself?
The area plan can't really, we can't really take into account every little person's concern. They kind of have to do it themselves. So where it says trails should be allowed, I mean, the people kind of need to know that they kind of have to step up too, and so, yeah, I don't think there's any more need for discussion, but that's just kind of throwing it out there that people need to know that if, like what Bernice is going to do, she's going to go and tell the Forest Service, okay, well, anybody could do that. So in a way, people just kind of need to know they have to step up and be responsible for their own concerns as well. Good night.
Hear, hear.
All right, Liz, your hand is up.
Yeah, and I was going to add, when we looked into that, we were saying, well, 2 things. We were looking into, it depends really on who does the trail design and their responsibility, whether it's Forest Service, whether it's ADOT, whether it's Park and Rec, and then who's funding it. And so when we were going over that same discussion about accessibility, when I was talking to the Forest Service, they said it really depends on who's doing design. Is it Public Works? Is it the Forest Service? And so you really can't say we have to be specific. That's why we made that statement so general, because we couldn't be specific. And regressing a little bit, and you can tell me, we can talk about this after, since I was late, and I do apologize. This number TC17, did we address anything, and was there a discussion about, or did anyone bring up, anyone from the community during public comments about ADA accessibility? That's why TC17 was really in there. Did anyone discuss that at all?
We have not addressed ADA accessibility.
Okay, because that was, if that was supposed to be brought up, Melissa, I don't know if you maybe forgot, when we discussed the ADA back in transportation and circulation, we were going to bring up why that statement was there, and did we want to change it back to the old statement?
Well, there wasn't a specific comment about that, though.
Okay, and no one had a question about making sure that ADA is addressed in our document?
Nope.
Okay.
Well, accessibility does speak to ADA, but
I know, but remember in the old one we talked about the other day, it was more it was more specific in the old plan, and I just wanted to know what the community, the committee's comments were, but no one had any kind of concern. Okay. Sorry about that. But TC17 was kind of contentious because a gentleman mentioned ADA accessibility, and that's why we put the statement in there, but I didn't know if the committee thought it was specific enough, but I guess they did because they voted to keep it.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
So we are satisfied that Bernice is going to solve all the problems with trailhead sizes, and moving on to the park and ride.
Okay, and this is the final comment on the map regarding park and ride on Silver Saddle near school. This park and ride should be adjacent to the trailhead.
And this has to do with our TC 12, 14, and 13 that's addressed at the beginning. We keep on going back to activity centers, and yes, there's park and rides.
And
correct, Melissa?
While that individual may like to see it associated with the trailhead, I'm pretty sure the Forest Service would not think that's a great place for a park and ride.
Correct. Yeah, we've already asked that question. I've already asked that question. Yeah.
Okay.
And let me ask one other question since I'm late, and I'm sorry, committee, but I just wanted to make sure it was addressed, and I wasn't here. Was are we done now? So I can ask this last question to the committee?
Not quite. We want to vote on whether or not we need to discuss this particular comment or not. So committee members, we need a vote on whether we need to talk about the park and ride at the trailhead. And I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. We do not. So Liz, you have the floor for 60 seconds.
Okay, thank you. Very good. Going back to transportation and circulation, there was one that really caught my eye the other day when I was reviewing it again. And it was, what about residents who are unable to drive? Melissa, did you address this with the mountain lift? Did you say that?
Yes, we talked about that one.
Oh, good. And did we vote that we're going to put that in there to make it available and people know?
It's in there.
Thank you, Melissa. Okay.
It was already in there. You already had it in there.
Oh, I did. I had
right here. Look at number 14.
Let me see. 14. Okay. Education. Existing transportation such as ride share, carpool, van. No, it's not. Nuh-uh. It's called mountain lift. I've got the number, and the definition for it is mountain lift is different than the other ones. Mountain lift is in our document, service for those with disabilities. It has nothing to do with age or expense. It doesn't have to do with if you're in a certain tax bracket or financial situation. It's called My Lift Taxi. And that's what I want to make sure it was in there because it's My Lift, and that addressed, hey, what about people who have disabilities? And they do have something with Mountain Line, and all you need to do is call up and say your situation and do an application, and they can do an application over the phone, not just computer, and they will come and pick you up and take you to your destination and pick you up and bring you back home. So that's a great service Mountain lifted, and I wanted to make sure that was in, but I'm glad I brought it up. Yeah.
Liz, what are you asking to have changed?
Okay, what I'm asking is that in
TC14.
Thank you. Yeah, TC14. Sorry, at the doctor's I had a big cup of coffee to stay awake, and I'm just jamming. So anyway, TC14, I would just like to put the addition of a service called Mountain Lift for disabilities.
Got it.
Not age included.
So is Mountain Lift part of Mountain Lion?
Yes,
correct.
It's a service they provide.
Mm-hmm.
This number TC15 kind of has something about that if you want to just expand on that.
All alternative forms of transportation that could support communities should be explored. Right, but this is just very specific. I mean, when I found out about this, I wanted to go back and retrack, and after we voted on it, I wanted to put it in. We could put it there. I just want it to be listed because it's so big, just like, van pool when people and share ride. People can get 4 people, and so I just wanted it in there.
Okay, so it sounds to me like what we did with TC14 is we listed all of those services that we currently know with the exception of one.
Correct.
I think it's reasonable to expect that all of those services could be called something different in sometime over the next 10 years. So rather than trying to list every possible service in this paragraph, I would suggest we rephrase it to encourage NAPTA to provide educational information about all modes of transportation available to all members of our area plan area, and not try to be as specific as this is and get ourselves in a box.
Well, if I could interject, because rideshare, carpool, vanpool, those are just types of transit. They're not specific programs that they offer. So that's something.
See, they're types. I think it's important to leave it in. So should we put, Melissa, then this mountain lift, which I think is very important, and they may change the word, but at least will be in here, and then they'll change it. Then we put it in like, I don't even know who.
For 10 years.
Evelyn. Yeah, it doesn't change for 10 years. That we could put it in alternatives, or could we list mountain lift here? I just think it's an important one.
Okay, so Bernice, you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you. I think we could put such as, but not limited to, because there's going to be more things coming up in the next 20 years besides what we have now. And I think we could just, like Rob said, to just encompass all future possibilities.
But like Melissa said, these are categories. These aren't the exact specific names. Mine was wrong. Mine was the specific name, and maybe we can put it in TC 15. All alternative forms of transportation could support and put i.e. mountain lift. It may change names, but the concept's still in there, and I think we need to address disabilities more than we have in this document. And I didn't really realize it till someone from the community brought that up.
How about just adding micro lift, or what is that, mountain lift behind mountain transit? Inserting the word there, behind micro transit.
Okay, so the next.
I think Bernice has got it pegged correctly, such as, but not limited to.
Yep.
Oh, and then list them? Yes.
Yeah, stick it in.
I agree with.
Okay, stick it in there. Okay, good. Okay.
All right, so we have reached a consensus.
But not limited to, okay.
We are going to add such as, but not limited to, and we are going to add the specific service that Liz has just mentioned in this sentence. And so I would like to take a vote on that. If everyone agrees with it, green check mark. And if you are disagreeing, so I've got 6 green, which is enough, 7, 8. There we go. Okay. So Melissa, you've adequately captured that, you and Jessica?
Yes, we've got it.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
I know I'm passionate about this document. I'm just so mad I missed the beginning of it, but anyway.
So are we.
Believe me, I didn't want surgery. Okay, thank you.
All right. So that completes the multimodal trails and transit map comments.
That's right.
Which brings us to our next goal this evening, which is the vision statements. Correct, Melissa?
That's right. And I will flip over to the comments.
Okay. And for the community members that are here, just a quick overview. We start with a vision statement, then we have goals, and then we have policies to accomplish those goals. All of these are interconnected, and we're going to be looking at the highest level of our documents here, the vision statements for our community, and addressing the comments that we have received on those up to this point. Liz, just for your information, since you got here late, what we have determined or decided to do is we are addressing comments that we received by the cutoff of the open house, and any of the remaining comments that have come in since that point that we have not yet addressed will be incorporated with those following the second open house.
Okay, I agree. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, and Brian and I had looked at this document and talked about ways that we could make sure we adequately address this and used everyone's time efficiently. And so what we did is went through and made some comments on the document. Hopefully all the committee members have had a chance to take a look at that. Those comments that we kind of highlighted with that orange color, we believed were either already addressed or something outside the scope of our document or whatever. We kind of incorporated that in the comments with those. Those in green are the ones that we believe warranted additional discussion, along with the section of them that is highlighted being the focus of what that discussion should be. So unless there's a committee member that opposes using this process to address the vision statement comments, we're going to get started here with the first green comment, please, Melissa.
Okay, and just for context, That green comment is on the land use vision. So here is the overall vision statement. It is broken into 4 categories, and that first comment was in relation to land use. Did you want me to read the vision, Rob?
I don't think so, because we'd be reading visions over and over and over again.
Okay. Okay, so the comment then is, consider impacts to existing infrastructure as community grows. Major corridors have not been upgraded to support the community growth. Highway 89 is in desperate need of more turn lanes to support the traffic. Clear signage should be placed on Townsend, Winona, and Highway 89 to prevent highway traffic diversion into neighborhoods. Cokefield and Silver Saddle were not designed for high volume highway traffic.
All right, so committee, we'll do this as we've been doing it. If you believe we should have further discussion on this and how we may need to modify our vision statement to incorporate the thoughts shared here, we need either a green check mark suggesting we need to discuss it, or a red X saying you're satisfied with where we're at.
Melissa, could you roll back to the vision statement so we could read it real quickly, please?
Yes.
So I can have the context. Thank you.
And in this case, while the comment was made on a vision statement, it really probably pertains more to goals and policies, because it has specific recommendations.
Right, transportation and land use, yeah.
Right. So in this case, I don't know that the vision statement warrants any type of change to incorporate what's being specifically identified here. On the other hand, I wonder if we should defer further conversation on this particular comment till after the open house, when we get back into policies and goals and policies.
Rob, this is Brian. I support what you're saying because it's consistent with our policies, and then we will have more information as to how to interpret this.
Okay.
I agree.
All right, so I've got, we'll reset our vote here, and the vote we're taking now is defer further discussion on this particular comment till after the open house, when we get back into the details of goals and policies. We have 5, okay. We will pick this comment back up again after the next open house. Thank you very much. And Melissa, we can move on to the next comment.
So the next comment in green is number 8. And that was in relation to the transportation vision. And it reads, partner with the existing bus transportation company to install bus stops in key areas, such as Silver Saddle, Donny Park Store, Dollar Store, and or outside the fire stations. The current traffic on 89 is awful and won't get better now that growth has been allowed to expand beyond reason.
Right, and we have that covered. CC 12, 13, 14.
I believe you are correct, Liz.
I'll go up to your transportation vision.
Enhanced opportunities for transit is addressed there. So Bernice, you have your hand up?
Sorry. I'm concerned about having anything around the fire stations that might disrupt the traffic for the emergency vehicles to come in and out, especially leaving for an emergency.
Okay.
That's all.
Where does that fit in? Where should we address that?
That
now?
was a part of a, Liz, read comment number 8.
This comment is suggesting bus stops in the vicinity of the fire stations. Bernice is
oh,
okay,
the bus station. Okay, okay. There you go. That's why she did. Thank you. Okay.
Dave, you got a comment?
Oh, that was covered.
Okay. So I think this falls into that same category, or if at all, either we discuss it in detail in goals and policies, or we accept that this has already been addressed in our plan where we talk about improving transportation options. So further discussion vote on this one, we'll need a green check mark if you'd like to discuss it further, a red X if you're satisfied that we have addressed this. And I have 6 red X's, so we can move on to the next comment.
The next one is number 9. Comment number 9, and comment number 9 is in relation to natural resources, open space, and environment. And it reads, the community of DPTF does not agree that the trails and multi-use path systems are important to maintain our quality of life. These ideas are obviously created by those who are not residents of DPTF. The multi-use trail systems are dangerous, and the mix of pedestrians, baby strollers, racing, bicyclists, and horseback riders in the DPTF area should not be implemented in our community.
So this particular comment seems in contrast with an awful lot of public comments that or survey comments and public comments that we received. And
yes,
just because it is in direct conflict to those, it warranted at least a vote of the committee as to whether we need further discussion of this. So let's
shouldn't we also add, oh, I should put my hand up, shouldn't I? Should I put my hand up or can I butt in?
Oh, Liz, you're either way is fine.
Okay, because with the multimodal, I think we have addressed this, that there are a lot of, and I don't know if Melissa did when we were talking about it, but under multimodal, they have to redo the map, they've got to redo the policies, and they've got to redo the trails. It's got to be updated, and that's actually in our policy. And I believe, I can't remember off the top of my head which TC it is, but it's saying we have to redo it, and we've got to go over active transportation, which is addresses trails, and it is in our policy. And also, it depends on who does these trails, whether it's, Forest Service, Public Works, ADOT, we're kind of limited how we can say it's going to be because of but in our policy also, TC.
Liz, you're getting way deeper than we need to here.
Okay, okay, I'm not going to get deep. I just want to make sure that we did address this.
Right.
Actually, 2 policies. Okay.
I think the committee probably agrees. I just wanted, because this is it was kind of a surprise comment to me. I just wanted to make sure that the committee is satisfied we are on the right track with a path alternate to what this comment is. So if you'd like to discuss this further, a green check mark, otherwise a red X, please. And looks like we have a majority of red X's, so we can move on to the next comment.
Okay, the next comment is also related to transportation. No bike paths should be installed where it takes away people's personal property. Bike lanes on existing roadways are okay.
All right, and my thought on this is that you cannot install a bike path on someone's personal property. So the good news is for Mr. Owens, we support his comment completely. Bernice, you have your hand up? Bernice, you're muted.
Sorry. Didn't the other transportation plan, the 2011, include eminent domain to put trails and bike paths? I mean, this doesn't have to be just limited to bike paths. It could be any kind of a trail that would go, that would require eminent domain on private property.
No, I don't believe there's any mention of eminent domain in that.
I think that's outside the scope of this comment.
No, we have it in transportation. I think it's at the very beginning, Melissa. We do mention eminent domain because I remember reading that over going.
While we may mention it, in relationship to this comment, there is no issue with respect to eminent domain. And I do not believe in
TC1.
Right. The plan there is.
I can't hear you, Bernice.
Yeah, could you please read TC1?
Melissa, if we
TC1,
could open the.
Yeah.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
I closed it. If you
Could
give
you-
me a second, I've got to go back.
TC1, yeah.
If you give me 1 second, I will reopen it.
Sure.
I can read it though while I get it. The county
Yeah.
should utilize eminent domain as seldom as possible to construct roadway systems.
Correct.
So we're already consistent with Mr. Neal or Mr. Owen's desire here.
Well, that's
Correct.
as seldom as possible, but it still is possible. I think what he's saying is that you shouldn't be using people's private property to make trails.
Okay.
Through
So let's take a
eminent
quick
domain.
vote then and find out whether the committee believes that as seldom as possible is consistent with what Mr. Owens is asking here. If you'd like to further discuss his comment, we need a green check mark. Otherwise, we need a red X.
Just ought to give everybody a shotgun.
Now, Dave. All right, the majority of the committee has voted red X's. So just as Melissa got us here, we've moved on. So thank you, Melissa. We can move on to the next comment.
That would be number 12, comment number 12 again, referring to transportation circulation. We need to work with the city to get a bike/walking path into town.
And I think as a committee, we have spent significant time discussing that coordination and addressed that in a number of our policies and goals. So I believe that Ms. Price and we are all on the same page. Does anyone believe we need further discussion on this one? If so, get a green X or green check, otherwise a red X, please. All right, seeing a majority of red X's, we'll move on to the next comment.
That would be number 15. And again, this is in relation to transportation circulation. This might be the only place in the entire draft where the word commuter appears. I think we should be well advised to think long-term. The current reality is that many area residents commute to jobs and education in Flagstaff, and the area does not exist in a vacuum. And in the longer term, the pressures of affordable housing, and for desirable second homes for those seeking refuge from Phoenix heat, like the current pressure in Flagstaff itself, will be knocking on the door of this area. Does this plan look sufficiently far ahead to deal constructively with those pressures? I don't think we should just pretend that we can keep our rural lifestyle with large lots and internal only transportation routes by ignoring those outside pressures.
Okay, so the big question here that she makes a lengthy statement, but are we as a committee satisfied that our plan is looking sufficiently to the future to address the kinds of pressures discussed here, is the question that we're trying to answer. And so I've got two people still have votes present here. Everyone can clear your votes so we make sure that we're voting on the right thing here. There we go. So on this one, we're going to vote as to whether or not we believe our area. Oh, Dave, you've got.
Dave has his hand up.
Dave, you're muted though. Dave, you're muted if you're trying to share something right now.
Sorry.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm thinking we should consolidate all of these things that we want to do to preserve what we want to preserve, and perhaps put some sort of an overview as to why we're doing that. Instead, it's all scattered throughout.
You're suggesting a vision statement then that would address the fact that we're preserving the rural character of Donny Park be incorporated someplace? Is that what I'm understanding?
Possibility.
And I believe that will definitely be the case in the preface to all of this. The area plan that we currently have has an introduction type section. We are the parts of the plan that we're editing now are the specific visions, policies, or goals and policies. So I agree agree with you, Dave, and I think all of the committee would agree that that needs to be part of the introduction section of this plan.
Well, and your vision statement does capture the rural character and lifestyle.
Okay. Does that work for you, Dave?
Yes, it works for me. I don't know how deep in specifics you'd want to go in that, but or not. But you know, because we're getting into some pretty good depth here.
Okay. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. I'm intrigued by Laura's comment because she really presents an overarching concern. And this is something that we're going to have to step back. We've been getting more and more into some of the details. And my request is that we come back to this comment after the next open house. And as we're doing our final review, we're asking ourselves, hey, are we actually looking down the road 40, 50, 60 years? Now, that doesn't mean that this plan is going to be that long, but we need to have that type of perspective.
Okay. I think that's a great thought and idea. Let's take a quick vote on Brian's suggestion that we defer further discussion on this particular comment till the comment discussions following the open house. All right, we've got 5 votes, and I'm sure Brian's in favor of that. We will make that happen. So Melissa will just hold that comment over for the future.
Okay. The next comment is number 16, again related to your vision of transportation. Please limit off-road parking on feeder roads of the plan.
So I'm not sure that we addressed that anywhere specifically. Liz, you got a thought?
Well, no, I don't even understand what that means. You mean the side roads? That's why I didn't have anything to see is in our plans, is because please limit off-road parking. There's no off-road parking to feeder roads of the plan.
Well,
there's designated.
Yeah, in some circumstances there are where there's trailheads and things like that.
But that'd be a trailhead, so I don't understand. She understands feeder roads. Are they?
So yeah, for example, Glodia has 2 trail access points on it, and there is no parking whatsoever at those trail access points. So people do park along the road. They're parking on a county right of way, but not far enough off the main road to be off the road, primarily because the right of way isn't conditioned for parking. So this may be what that is talking about. And it can be a concern because both of those are right at intersections also. So I don't know that this is what this particular person was talking about, but it does occur.
Okay, and I don't think it's been addressed because I didn't understand this, and I was like, okay, private roads. They don't want people to park on private roads. That's how I interpreted it. So I don't think there's anything that we cover that in the transportation, and maybe we should look into that, put something in there, because there's not anything that I know of. Do you know, Melissa?
I don't think that issue has been specifically
addressed.
On.
Yeah.
Okay, so as a committee, let's take a vote on whether we want to assign Liz to further investigate this and come up with recommendations for a potential new policy in transportation in our following the next open house. Okay, Liz, you see who all your friends are here now. They're all putting you to work.
Okay, sure. I want to.
Rob, Melissa, I have a question. Do we have other comments that address the same topic of off-road parking?
I don't think we've seen anything else.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Carol, for that comment. And thank you, Liz, for accepting some additional research there. Next comment.
Okay, number 18 is still in relation to transportation vision. Agree with other comment that a bike pedestrian path to connect to Flagstaff is needed. Pedestrian and bicycle traffic on Highway 89 in towns of Winona is dangerous due to traffic volumes and road conditions. A parallel trail for pedestrians and bicyclists to utilities promotes inclusivity and safety.
And the only reason I made this one green is because of the fact that this seems to be a recurring comment. It occurred in a number of different places that better interconnection between us and the city needs to happen. And are we satisfied that we have adequately addressed that in our area plan is the question I'm posing to the committee. So if you believe we are adequately addressing it, then a red X would be the right vote. Oh, Liz has a thought.
Oh, I was just going to comment and say, yes, we've gotten TC 12 to 15, then another one about, intermix between neighborhoods, and we actually have plans. And then in the bulk of our of our body, we have projects that are listed to do further connection. But for connections and getting to the Futz Trail, that's exactly what we're doing at Burris. I mean, from Snowflake to Sandy Seat is going to be, that's the connection to the Futz. And I don't know if Melissa went into detail, probably not because you were going quickly, but eventually the map is going to show that. It doesn't show it now. And then it just disperses on the side, on the west side, many trails. So anyway, I'm just defending my, yes, we do have it in there. Sorry, I'm just excited about my transportation part, that's all.
We appreciate your enthusiasm. All right, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, the majority say we have adequately addressed that. Thank you. Moving on to our next comment.
Okay, and this is the last one on the vision statement, number 19. Again, relation to to transportation. Public transportation is needed in more rural areas where the only true option, especially in inclement weather, is to drive a car, which is not an option for everyone. This will serve the young and old alike.
And based on the previous review of the transportation section, this has kind of already been addressed. My thought with highlighting this one was, again, have we actually adequately addressed that, because it's a recurring comment? So we'll take a quick vote here. Do we need to further discuss this comment? And the answer is no, we do not. We have adequately addressed it in our area plan. Thank you, Starla, for that comment, validating what we're doing here. And that brings us to the end of the review of our policies, goals, policies, and vision statements. Correct, Melissa?
Yes, it does.
And that is a body of mighty fine work by every one of the committee members and all of the public who have taken their time to help contribute to this process. So I thank everyone for that. Brian, you have a thought?
Well, that's the sound of one hand clapping there, because there's not the clapping.
Okay, that's a clapping hand, not a raised hand. And I couldn't agree more. I believe all of us are probably on board with you there, Brian. All right. So that brings us to our next subject of discussion, which will be a review of the open house plan. We have currently 2 dates set aside that we have both of those reserved for the school, so that can be supported. The March 31st date is coming up awfully quickly. We're 21 days away from that. And there has been some discussion that for staff, the April 7th date works better. So what we'd like to find out from committee members is what your preference is on the date, either the 31st of March or the 7th of April.
And if I could just elaborate, Rob, the 7th would definitely be better for me in particular and the rest of planning staff, because we have planning commission hearing the night before on the 30th. So yeah,
okay.
Okay, and I don't want to further complicate things, and not that all of you are huge baseball fans, but I did hear a rumor that opening day is now set for April 7th. So if you had plans for that, just know that it's probably going to happen on April 7th now that the strike or the lockout's over.
All right, Liz?
I just wanted to know if we bump it to April 7th, can we get a positive concurrence that multimodal map will be updated with the correct connections, so people can.
We'll do our best.
So it doesn't matter, because if you don't think you can get it done by the 21st, you're probably not going to get it done by the 7th. Are you?
I need to sit with you and look exactly what your comments are on that, because I didn't know that it needed a lot more edits. So we can talk about that separately.
Okay, I sent emails to you about that. Okay, all right.
All right, so I would like to propose a vote here if you're in favor of meeting or trying to conduct the next open house at, well, we got some more comments here. Bernice?
I agree with Sailor. I think it might be best to try to get it after April 7th because we've got still a lot to go over, and we need to make sure that we have the amended copy of the most current copy of the draft up on the website and advertise this thing. That doesn't give us very much time to advertise it. It's less than a month.
And make sure all the parts are in there.
Yeah.
So we've got to have all the parts. It just does no good to get people together and say, we'll show you this win.
So
I still have
time out for a second. Melissa, if I could ask you a question. On by April 7th, is it reasonable to expect that at least a week prior to that, available on the website would be a draft area plan that incorporates all of the changes we have been discussing and made available for people to review?
I would say if it's April 7th, we can have a draft plan available at least 5 days ahead of April 7th for people to review, and then at the open house. And then we can talk about having, again, a virtual open house open for some time afterwards.
Okay, so 5 days would be a Sunday. Actually, it, or would it? Yeah, it would. Okay, I would like to ask that we have as a minimum 1 week of it available on the website for people to review before the open house. And then probably a 2-week period following that, that we would be open to comments being submitted electronically following that. Is it reasonable to expect that we could do that by the 7th of April?
Are you asking me?
Yes, ma'am.
Again, we would do our best to get it up there a week ahead, which would be on the 31st. So it might be more realistic to do it on that next Friday, the next day, Friday, or that Monday. We had thought if we have an open house on either the 31st or the 7th, then there still might be an opportunity to schedule it for a study session with the Planning Commission in May. So just to keep that in mind in terms of having a meeting after your open house to review comments and how that timing might work. So your next meeting potentially would be April 14th if we stick to the second Thursday of the month.
Okay.
Unless you want to move that later.
All right. In order for that to work, we would, in order to have comment periods following the open house, we would need to meet after the 14th. So that would probably have to move 1 week to the right. And
yeah, the next date would be the 21st.
Right. Okay, Liz and Liz, you have your hand up still, or?
Sorry, I'll take it down.
Bernice, do you have your hand up still?
I still have my hand up. I still think that we need to go back and look at that industrial rezoning and create a policy to go with the goal. And also we need to look at the size of the multi-unit housing for the residential collective housing. I just don't feel comfortable with having unlimited medical center sizes and unlimited residential collective housing and unlimited sizes for convalescents.
And Bernice, we're anxious to hear whether other members of our community share those concerns. And the only way we can get those inputs is by having an open house.
Okay.
Well,
I think there's our whole area survey speaks to that. And I think the comments that people have made during the last 2+ years have wanted to keep us rural and not put in multi-unit housing.
And we have heard that, I believe. Liz, your hand went back up.
Oh, can you hear me? Okay, because my computer's juggling. I think that I would like to ask the committee, since we've had so much on transportation and transit and the connection to the Futz Trail, that we vote on do we really make an effort to get that multimodal map up and updated? And Melissa, I'll talk to you, because we just kind of like slurred that under, yeah, I'll try to get it done. But we see so many comments of people wanting alternative transportation and transit and connection to Flag and FUTS, and it's there, it's just not on the map. And if we have a section for transportation, maps are huge when you're talking transportation, and that one is just not ready. I looked at it again last night, today, I sent comments to you, Melissa, and I just say, I want the committee to put their hands up or stress, if we're going to be talking what the survey says is important to talk about, just like Bernice said, people are making comments, we've got to be prepared for the open house, or why have an open house? And so my question is, do we really push for this multimodal to be updated and fixed? I don't know if anyone came to the table. So anyway, that's my vote. And I'm agreeing with Bernice that I think that's got to come to a vote. Do we really make sure that that's included when we have our open house? Because I know.
I think we've heard, what we need to do is hear from Melissa now.
Okay.
Melissa, in order, the committee is indicating that in order to conduct an open house fairly, we have to have the draft plan and the multimodal map both available a minimum of 5 days in advance and for some period of time afterwards.
Right, and that
comments is that
that's our goal. That's our goal as well. And then Liz, your specific comments on the map are, I need to look with you together at the map, not just through email, because I'm not 100% sure where you're looking. So we need to look at it together in person. And I think that will help clear things up.
Okay.
And yeah, I've got a request in to make corrections to the different maps, and keep in mind that they would be, the multimodal trails and transit map was put together using data from a combination of sources, from the Forest Service, from the Flagstaff Trails Initiative, as well as from the Urban Trail. And so I think that the issue is really labeling.
Correct, labeling. But the thing is,
it's
when
just
you said
labeling of streets, so it's a matter of relabeling streets so you can
and putting the map and putting the FUTS trail on there that connects to the.
Liz,
what?
I appreciate your passion, and I hear what you're saying, but I think we've got it. The question
but she
is
said I didn't.
still,
But she said I'm doing through emails. But she sent me the map to look at, and that's what I was commenting on, the map she just sent me, and I said this is still not. Anyway, I'm going to close it. I'm perseverating because I just think it's so important if you're talking transportation.
And what I'm asking for is a commitment from county staff that 5 days prior to the 7th of April, the area plan draft and including the multimodal map would be available for public access on the website and comment.
That's what we're working toward, yes.
Okay.
Because if you can't, then do we delay it till she can present it? Then do we delay the date? That's what I'm asking.
And Liz, or excuse me, Melissa, that was why I was asking for a commitment, not a goal. The bottom line is we cannot effectively conduct an open house.
Correct.
We cannot have those two documents available 5 days prior.
That's our goal, to get that done back to you. Yes. As much as I can commit to being here tomorrow, I will commit to that. Yes.
So you're saying, yes, they will be?
Yes.
Okay. Liz, are you satisfied that yes, they will be works for you?
Well, then can we put a little addendum on that? Is if they're not, then we won't have the open house that date.
Well, the problem is we're going to start advertising and everything effective.
Well, see, then talk is cheap, because you can say you can try, and tomorrow then is today, and then we don't have what we have.
She just said she will. She didn't say she will.
I know, but the thing is, with sweet Melissa, and I know she tries 100%, it's not just her that's got to get these done. I know the map crew is underfunded and unmanned, and so we've been asking for this for a long time. That map was from the old open house. It's still not been updated. Even the one they gave us was not appropriate.
We don't control the county resources. We have to rely on the county staff that are here tonight and what they're telling us. And what I'm hearing from county staff is that yes, 5 days prior to that meeting on the 7th of April, they will have that information available for review. And since we have heard that commitment, it has been recorded in forever. I would like to ask for a vote for the committee members on the date of the next open house being April the 7th. If you concur with doing the next open house on April the 7th, I need a green check mark. If you disagree with that, I need a red X.
What are other options?
Right now, that's the only option other than the 31st of March, which we cannot do. We have commitments from the school that it's available. We have commitments from county staff that they can support that date. That's the only date right now that we have available to do an open house. So I see 4 green votes. I see no red votes. So committee members, step up to the plate. You got to vote. No mail-ins here. I've got 4 yeses and 2 nos, 5 yeses is the majority. Sailor, there we go. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least. All right, so we are officially planning our next open house for April the 7th at Cromer Elementary School, starting at 6 p.m. Bernice.
Yes, I was just wondering, you know, in regard to the maps, could we please make sure that they are legible and that you can read the street names? I know when we had our last open house, it was really hard to read the boards because if you have bifocals, it was like impossible. And, you know, we need to have those legible for people. And can we have them up on the website also, the maps, so that they are able to be read?
The maps, the multimodal and the area plan maps are available on the website now, right? Melissa?
No, they're not on the website right now.
Well,
what's on the website is the story map.
Oh, the story map is available. Okay, that's right.
But that's just an online map, so
Yep.
That's different.
Okay. Dave, you had a thought?
Yes, the reason I voted no is we have worked on this thing for 2 years, and I hate to do a hurry up job at the end. And this is a hurry up job.
Okay.
I agree.
I appreciate that thought, Dave, and
that's what I did.
Only because the county has committed to being able to support it, have I supported it myself. So I'm putting my faith in our county staff to be prepared for this.
But if you're understaffed, it's hard to create a miracle, but I guess it's possible.
Well, we'll get Supervisor Begay and Supervisor Vasquez to double their salaries so they'll work twice as hard. All right, well, moving on to the currently displayed slide. In order to have a successful open house, we've got to make sure people know about it. The outreach that we need to do needs to happen starting very soon because we want to maximum participation. There will not be a mass mailing for this particular open house. That's the bad news. The good news is we have a significant list of email addresses from people that have participated in this process at various times ever since the beginning and including from the last open house. So that will be a way to contact a lot of people. Our plan is to maximize our exposure on social media. Bernice, we were looking for someone who might be willing to coordinate be our social media coordinator and outreach for that, for Facebook, Nextdoor, any other apps that may be available to target this specific community. Our goal is also to try to get it in the newspaper, in the public events sections, and perhaps get some coverage on some of the radio stations with their public service announcements via that media release.
Yeah, that's just about impossible for the newspaper, and CAF radio has not been responsive. I've tried to get them in there every single month. The community calendar is no longer in existence in the newspaper. Okay. I really think that we need a mailing like we had last.
I do too. I thought that's what we people commented on at the meeting last time, that it was the old-fashioned snail mail.
Yep.
So let me interject, if I may, Liz, in that we did have that comment, and I think it was very widely accepted, very powerful. But with the email that we now have, and I think, Rob, weren't we going to try to get a signage board like at Highway 89?
We've gotten a commitment from the county that for the week prior at the intersection of Townsend, Winona and 89, there will be an electronic message board notifying this.
So I think we've got a lot of avenues that we can still use, even though not all of them are available. So I'm very comfortable with going with what media that we currently have. And we do not have the budget to do another mailing.
The fire station might cooperate also and put it on their announcement boards.
That's a great idea. Would you follow through with that, Bernice?
You know what? I've got some stuff coming up and it's crazy. I don't think I can commit to either one of those.
Okay, so this is our plan. It will require some effort and work and cooperation from all of us. I believe that if we effectively cover the bases that we've got displayed here on this slide, that we will see a good turnout once again. The plan is, again, to have the multimedia available there. We're going to have a PowerPoint presentation. We'll have opportunities for comment with this new area plan. Melissa, am I missing anything?
No, but it would be
tables. Melissa, didn't you say you wanted tables?
Right. The format would be different than.
Okay, so we're not going to talk format. Okay. Okay, we're just talking getting outreach. Okay.
I mean, well, we could, you know,
I think that's a point for another meeting, maybe between Rob, Melissa, and myself. Well, I say that just to try to move us on to the other planning we may need to get to, not to exclude people, but it's just if we get too far into the weeds on this, I'm not sure how much else we need to get done.
I can give just Brian and Rob, just a very quick summary of what the thought was for this format. And we did talk about setting up tables that would be dedicated to each topic area. So it would be different than having display boards. People could actually sit down and talk with committee members, review the draft, and the idea would be to rotate kind of in a round robin format between the different subject areas. What we found in other, you know, area plan events, people do like to rotate. Some people tend to stay at a topic or a particular topic that they're most interested in. So in any event, that's just a real brief summary on that. But getting back to the idea of the outreach, this is where it would be helpful. I know that a bunch of you had helped with the first open house, you know, going around putting flyers up and things like that. That's really what we're going to need support from you all to do.
Okay.
Well, I can help with that.
Excellent.
Would this be the time, Melissa, for some of us to volunteer to do like putting up the posters or?
Yes, please.
Okay, I will commit some time. I can't tell you exactly when right now.
And I will work to maximize exposure on the Donny Park Facebook page and the Next Door sites.
And I can do posters, and I also can go to the fire station and see if they'll put something on their board. Because they kept our banners there and they collected our surveys for months, and so I know the women there because I got them. So.
Perfect.
Okay. Anyone else like to volunteer themselves?
Well, no, but I do want to mention that the sheriff's office is very, you know, John gets here, you know, to a lot of the meetings, and he's very involved in this. So they, whatever they could do to publicize it would help too.
Yeah, John Paxton, the neighborhood watch notifications that go out, perhaps we could include a notification about these particular meetings, or maybe borrow that email list from you to make sure that we're getting maximum visibility from it?
Yeah, you bet. Just let me know and I can put that out to the Neighborhood Watch Committee when I'm not talking about making dinner to my wife.
Okay. We don't want to get you in trouble. And then Melissa, perhaps someone from staff could communicate with both of our county supervisors. They also have newsletters and we'd like to make sure that gets incorporated in those.
How about a news release to the newspaper from the county?
That's the media release that's listed there on the PowerPoint here.
Oh, okay, thanks.
All right, it sounds like we have a plan for an open house. Melissa, what's next?
Excuse me, how long is the open house and what time is it going to be? And is there going to be questions and answers?
We had planned to have it the same time as before, 6 to 8, with setup earlier than that. That seemed to be a good time for people.
It seemed to work pretty good last time.
Yeah, I think that works.
Okay. Thank you, Liz. Melissa, what's next?
The next item on your agenda tonight is to talk about this and your schedule.
All right. And I think we've agreed that the next meeting being April 14th won't work because that will still be within the comment period for the open house. So I'm going to propose we move our next formal meeting to April the 21st at our regular 5 p.m. time. Will anyone have a difficulty making that meeting?
I'll be in Texas.
Rob, this is Brian. I'll be down in Tucson on a science tour.
They have internet in Texas and Tucson. I know they do.
And I'm going to be out of the country to Spain, so I'm not going to be there.
You world traveler, Liz.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you too, Brian.
So that would put us close to not achieving, but still achieving our quorum, excuse me. So let's
Rob,
tentatively go ahead.
A point of clarification. Then you were suggesting a 2-week comment period after the open house.
That wouldn't be the 21st. That'd be
so the
28th.
If the open house is on the 7th, right? Then 2 weeks after that's the 21st. Then you would need to meet after that.
All right. So does the 28th of April work better for our committee members?
Well, and how long does it take to consolidate the information we get from the open house so that we can look at it, Melissa?
It doesn't take too long. I need a day or two once it's closed, but then it's getting it back to you guys.
Okay. Well, I can do the 28th.
So Melissa, I have a question. And that is, how many comments did we get after, say, the first 7 days from the first open house?
Boy, I don't know how many came in day by day. I just know that once we closed the comments, we got a substantial number of comments in total after they were closed. I didn't monitor it day by day.
Well, I understand that. Actually, what's behind that is 2 weeks longer than we need to have the questions open, the comments period open.
I believe your last comment period was a week after the open house.
I think we need to leave it open as long as we can to get more people to comment. And
that presents, they could still comment after the period, and we would just see how many we got then and review it perhaps as we're doing with this round. I'm not making a commitment there. I'm saying that that's a possible strategy.
I would just mention, if you wanted to move ahead with finalizing your plan and potentially working toward a study session with Planning Commission, if there's an open house in April, then the next realistic Planning Commission study session would be May 25th. Now that's not a public hearing, that's just a preview. Public hearing potentially then in June, on June 29th.
So it sounds like we had several people that could not make the 21st. Does the 28th of April work better for the committee as a whole? How many people cannot make the 28th? Liz, you cannot. And it looks like everyone else can. So that sounds like a much better date to schedule our next meeting. That'll give us adequate time for public comment inputs and the county to consolidate those for us. We will plan our next meeting for April the 28th at 5 p.m. All right. And open house, P&Z, okay. We've talked about all that. Which brings us to public comment. So we certainly appreciate all those members of the public that have stuck with us through all of this. And if any of you at this point would like to share a thought with us, we'd like to invite you to do that. Again, asking that you contain your comments to a 3-minute time frame, if you could, please. Sheila, it looks like you're first in line.
Thank you, Rob. I'm Sheila Walsh. I've been living out here for 37 years. I have a couple of comments on tonight. So great job. I really like the format that you guys have migrated to. As far as public safety and house identification, instead of telling homeowners how to ID their homes, that cookie cutter idea. I lived in another rural area for a short while and well, not really a short while. And it was insanely chaotic. And the fire department took topo maps and each household had to stop by the fire department and show them, actually draw a map and put all their identifying information on a sheet of paper that they kept on file for how to get to people's houses in case somebody called from that house. So that would be a way of self-responsibility, getting to the fire department and telling them how to get to your house. The second one I wanted to talk about was when the Donny Park multimodal plan, which is still on the shelf, was introduced in 2010, of the first of 5 offerings to slow down traffic and make more room for bicycles was narrowing the striping on roads, because evidence has proven that when the striping is narrowed on roads, traffic slows down and it can make a bigger shoulder for bicycles on it. That was one of 5 options in the first initial offering. Of course, they developed the most expensive options in that multimodal plan that is on the shelf. And until it is revised, I'm gonna consider it still in play. And the last thing I wanted to say is I do not support the paving of Neptune between Skeet and Silver Saddle.
Amen.
But great meeting, you guys. Thank you so much for your hard work.
Thank you, Sheila. Appreciate those inputs. And Mr. Weedman, it looks like you're next on the agenda here. Russell, you're muted if you're speaking right now.
Okay, there you go. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sorry. I wanted to thank John Ruggles for letting us know what happened with the application for the zoning change on Daniel Way. I'd been thinking about it since you mentioned last meeting, so that was great hearing what the results were and how an area plan and the results of the survey affected the decision that was made. So thank you. And then the other thing, there was a lot of discussion tonight about Highway 89 and many comments on the traffic, the speed with which people drive, where we need stoplights, all of this stuff. And I did make a comment, and you'll probably get to it next time, but it's about an 89 bypass. And I really do feel like it's due right now. And I've seen this happen in many different communities and in the country, right? And it's always happens a bit late by the time, like in this case, ADOT, by the time they actually get to do that, it should have been done 5 or 10 years before. So, you know, I think that this committee has a platform, and it's good to talk about that and to mention that, because it would make a huge difference in the amount of traffic that would be on Highway 89 as an example. And, you know, even if the population didn't grow that much in this community, it's going to grow in the city, in the county, in the state, in the country. And 89 is an interstate now, and it really needs a bypass. And I think it'll eventually happen. There's no doubt about that. But if the committee can make a comment, or I'm planting seeds when I made that comment, because it really needs to be done. And so anyway, there you go. And good meeting tonight. You got a lot done, and I appreciate all the hard work. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weedman. Appreciate your comments as always. Any other members of the public here this evening that would like to share a thought with us? All right, seeing none of those. Committee members, any final thoughts you would like to share this evening?
I just have a real quick question. I missed a couple of the dates. The date for the actual open house is March 22nd.
7th of April.
Oh, it is a, okay. And there was a meeting, was that April 24th?
28th.
28th, okay.
Yes, sir. All right, thank you, Dave. Bernice.
Yes, I still feel that it's really important that we go back to LU7 for the assisted living complexes and the convalescent home complexes and the residential collective home complexes. It doesn't say in our area plan what the limit is on their size or where they're located. It doesn't say they have to be in a rural activity center. They could be placed anywhere. And there's no limit on the number of them. So I think we need to go back and address that and limit the sizes because of our water infrastructure and the increased density that it's going to create in our area.
Okay, thank you, Bernice. I appreciate that input. Any other committee members have anything they'd like to share this evening?
Hey, Rob, this is Brian.
Yes.
I often in these meetings keep going back to a thing called the Serenity Prayer. And it's something that keeps me on track. And I bring that up because a lot of times we get off on things in which we don't have control over them. And so I think from time to time, it would help us all if we just kind of took a breath and said the Serenity Prayer to ourselves. Thank you.
Always good advice, especially in these troubling times we're all living in the world right now.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
All right. Any other committee members? Last call. Then I would like to thank all the committee members, all the county staff, and all of the members of the public for your participation this evening, and wish you all a great evening. Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Good night. Thank you.
Good night, everyone, and thank you.